Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's up? I'm back. We're going to be taking a full breakdown look. I'm just kidding. We hit 1,000 subscribers. All right, let's go. Let's go. Thank you guys so much. We were at 816 on Monday when I made those two videos. And then literally, that's Christmas Eve, right? And literally a day later on Christmas, it was 26 hours later, we hit the 1,000 mark threshold, 200 and something subscribers in literally 2 days. Absolutely incredible. Thank you guys so much. If you're new here, my name is Sal. Welcome to the channel. We just broke the 1,000 subscriber. We kind of plowed through. We're closer to 1,100 by now, mark. And we are a YouTube partner now. So you guys might see some ads coming. Don't worry, I won't blow you away with them. But I'm pumped. So that's actually really great. I wanted to do that by the end of week 17. We plowed right through it. Best Christmas gift ever. Thank you guys so much. Going to be doing a giveaway for that draft dashboard that we've been partnering with for a little while now. We're going to be giving another lifetime membership away. So if you're watching this video, just comment right now, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below who you think will be the QB who scores the most points not named Patrick Mahomes this weekend. So QB who's going to score the most points not named. You can't pick Patrick Mahomes, right? Who do you think it's going to be this weekend on that Sunday slate? 15 games, lots to choose from, 30 of them. So yeah, comment that below. We'll do the wheel. Last week, highest scoring wide receiver. I'm going to pin that up in the comments who won that one. I couldn't get the wheel thingy. I couldn't really find it, and also the names and all that to get in. I have a doctor's appointment I have to get to, so that's on me that I didn't get the wheel going. But we'll put the winner down below, so check it out. And I'll also comment if you did win that $15 PayPal for the highest scoring wide receiver, who I believe was Antonio Brown by a lot. But yeah, thank you guys. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot of things going on. The other thing I will mention down below, we created it was requested by a lot of people. We created this secret Facebook group for our community here. And you guys can join that by going down below. You click the link, you just request to join. Literally all it's going to ask you is what does DFS stand for, so we don't get no donkeys in there. Or just random bots in there. And then it's just going to ask you why you want to join the group. You answer those two questions, takes 30 seconds. You get entered into the group as long as I see that those answers obviously aren't just some robot answering them, right? So yeah, hit that Facebook group down below for sure. Get in there. We already got people in there communicating, really just to talk strategy, help each other out, talk slates, whether it's NBA, NFL, anything really all season long. We can kind of build that community and grow it. Discord channels, you've heard of those before in the past for Twitch, things like that. Might be actually looking into those as well, but as of right now, Facebook is a solid home for the community, I would say, and I actually like the interface there, just being more interactive, right, than just talking to you or talking to my camera in a room and having to reply to your comments, which I love doing, just in being more interactive so everybody can kind of talk is the way that we wanted to go with that one. But we're going to do this week 17, game-by-game breakdown. It's a fun week, right? We don't know who's going to play. We don't know who's not going to play, especially as it's Thursday right now, so injuries are still up in the air. They've only practiced one game. The beat writers haven't been able to pinpoint who's going to play. It's probably going to come down to really Sunday with guys sitting and things like that. Some teams have said they're playing players. Most haven't said anything. Some said they haven't, or some said they aren't playing players. Or actually none really haven't said they aren't playing players. So that's right now why it's a little bit confusing. But I love this slate because it always brings tons of value, and it's basically who can find the most value, right? So what I'm going to do, I do every single week, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, players that might necessarily be my picks, right? But as it's Thursday, they're just intriguing to me. Guys I want to talk about, guys that I probably, most of them or some of them will have in my player pool. This is draft dashboard. We're going to use this just to kind of build our player pool. You can see I put 40 people in my player pool. And there's a lot, right? Usually I have 30 in there, 35 on these windows, and then I break it down, get it down to low 30s, low to mid 30s with the optimal players that I like to use in tournaments. My cash games, I get down to 15, 10, 15. But yeah, this week we got a lot because there's a ton of value guys out there, and you still don't know what's going on with the expensive guys. So I want to make sure I have some of those in there to hit on for sure. And then the other thing I will say is that if you want this, you can access my player pool anytime you want. 30 days for $1, draft dashboard. You can drop that below, or you can check out that below in the comment section for sure. Yeah, so 30 days for $1. You can get this on Sunday, Saturday. You can get my refined player pool that I'm most likely using up to the minute. I've been trying to be good with actually updating it on Sundays for you guys if you want to go in there and look at it. So check that out below. 30 days for $1. You really can't beat that deal. That's a deal that gets you can get through my link, so make sure to take advantage of it because this is a $40 a month thing, so saving a lot of money if you want to go that route. But let's get into it. Patrick Mahomes, 7,200, 7,100. The way this slate is set up with value at running back, with loads of value actually at wide receiver as well, value everywhere, right? I think you pay up a tight end and you pay up a quarterback. Who do you want to pay up for when you do it at those positions? Usually Chiefs players, right? Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. I don't see how you go away from Patrick Mahomes here. A couple things about Patrick Mahomes. His team still needs to win to clinch that bye, right? So they're going to go out there. Andy Reid's going to make sure he gets a bye, so they're going to be competitive. And you can't just let up on the gas unless you're up by 40. And if they're up by 40, he probably had a good game, right? So 7,100, he's too cheap. His price just continues to come down. The man's averaging 30 fantasy points on the year. If he gets you that this week, that's fine at 7,100. You absolutely take that. Oakland, yes, the narrative is they haven't given up, or they've only given up one 300-yard passer. Patrick Mahomes already has played them this year, and he was that guy who didn't go for 300 yards, but he went for, 295 or something? 295, 4 touchdowns, and he had 50 yards on the ground. Yeah, this man's an absolute monster. Like we said, 29.5 points on the year is his average, and I want to play him in, every situation this week. He's 13 fantasy points away from the highest scoring fantasy season ever, beating out Peyton Manning when he threw for 50-plus TDs. Patrick Mahomes is just an absolute stud. I want him this week, and I want a whole lot of this Chiefs offense against Oakland. Again, another thing to mention, Oakland can't pressure. We already know that. Patrick Mahomes is going to have the most time in the pocket projected. The guy right below, who I'm going to add, who I didn't add, is Ben Roethlisberger. He has the second most time. Cincinnati can't pressure, right? These two teams played each other a couple weeks back, and it was just nobody getting to the quarterback. Nobody was getting touched, as in Cincinnati and Oakland. Now Big Ben's up there for $7K. I still think that he's a little underpriced, considering that Pittsburgh has to be competitive. And if you want to see which teams have to be competitive, we can go over here. This is Adam Levitan's article. It's pretty good. He basically lists out these 15 teams that have to be competitive this week, which 15 teams having to be competitive translates to basically every single game but 2 this week on the slate. So it is actually interesting that a lot of teams have to be competitive. Maybe not the other side, though, and that's where some of those questions are going to come in, especially with the higher-priced running backs. But Big Ben in a great spot against Cincinnati. We picked on them all year. These are the two guys I'm going to have at the high end in my quarterback pool. But like I said, Patrick Mahomes is, as of right now, on Thursday, where I'm going to be building a lot of my lineups around. A lot of them, as I expect a lot of people to. One thing to touch on Aaron Rodgers, he's been having a terrible year, but he now ranks 4th in QB fantasy points just because he threw up 50 last week, which is 3 of his normal weeks have been this year, maybe even 4 on some weeks. So that's just a fun note on him. Jared Goff, his team, who knows if they're going to be sitting starters or not. If we come to this article right here, the Rams, obviously in there, must win to clinch the number 2 seed. Will they sit starters if they get up big? I'm not sure. It's just sketchy, right? At this point, I can't give you guys great advice on some of these teams, if they're sitting them or not. You can read these articles, but those articles are basically just saying who has to win to get in the playoffs and why they're going to play players. It's the same stuff you guys already kind of know. As of right now, let's just check on our boy Jameis. So Jameis is the next guy up, 6,100 in sort of this mid-tier of quarterbacks. Obviously, he's at home, which he's been playing better at home, and he's going up against Atlanta. So he hasn't been home in 2 weeks, and his points have come down a little bit because of that in relatively to what he's been doing in that offense. A lot of people are going to be off of him, mainly because obviously Patrick Mahomes and Ben Roethlisberger are high up there, and there's some other guys a little bit below him. I think this mid-tier is going to get lost, especially in that high upper 6K range where Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers are living. I feel like maybe because of Aaron Rodgers' week last week, people go to him. I don't like the matchup against Detroit. They play very slow, although earlier this year, Detroit got up big on Green Bay, and that's when Rodgers had his second best game, having to throw a lot. I don't see that happening again. Detroit's a much worse team now. They've lost guys like Golden Tate. They've lost guys like Marvin Jones, who killed the Packers in his career. So I'm not really on that game too much from the quarterback perspective. But getting back to Jameis, obviously a great matchup at home against Atlanta. Picked on Atlanta all year. He probably doesn't have Deshaun Jackson, which I think is better for them, because then he has more time to target guys like Chris Godwin on the outside, who win more, who takes up even more pressure out of the slot where Adam Humphries resides. I like Jameis. Don't know how much I'm going to be playing him, again, because of a guy like Patrick Mahomes being so greatly priced. Josh Allen's the next guy that I had in my queue list, and his points have come down a little bit, and that's because his rushing has halted. I mean, did you guys really think he was going to go 100 yards every single game? That's pretty tough, right? So, or close to 100, that's pretty tough, especially when they're not designed runs, they're just scrambles. It's hard to really contain that for more than a month at all. Surprised that he contained it for 3 weeks. But at home against Miami, there's something about this kid. If he can get the rushing back up, he's interesting because people are going to be totally off of him if you want to be a little bit contrarian at 6K. I just think I have him right now in there, but I'm very tempted just to take him out right now because by the time the weekend comes, I'll take him out right now. By the time the weekend comes, And again, this is going to change a lot based on news that we hear and just based on me playing with the slate a little bit more, being able to look at stats and draft dashboard, being able to look at stats at somewhere here in Fantasy Labs. You can see, great tool here is that you actually have to buy that part of it to get the projections and stuff or the ownership. But yeah, so I don't know if I'll actually get there just due to the fact that it's literally, does he get 50 to 70 yards on the ground to make you get there? Nick Foles, incredible week last week. I ended up having him in 50% of the leagues. A couple of people were like, why didn't you talk about him? I didn't see it at first, and then Saturday night, Sunday morning came, and I was big into Nick Foles. I had a ton of Foles, Ertz exposure, a ton of Foles, Jeffrey, Ertz, stacks, running it back in that game. And I like him again this week. Obviously, Philadelphia has to be competitive. They have to win and get a little bit of help, I believe, to get in. Or is it just a win and in for Philadelphia? Let's check this. I believe it's win and get a little bit of help, right? Yeah, so the Vikings are the team that has to win to get in. Philadelphia must win and have a loss, so they're obviously going to be playing there with some purpose. So a lot of these games do kick off at the same time, so there's not an unfair advantage to one team. And also just because the ratings, they want them to be higher at the 4 o'clock slate. There's a ton of games this week. Next guy, Lamar Jackson. The guy's just too cheap, right? This guy, what he's been doing with this team is actually pretty incredible. I don't know if, honestly, we've seen them win and play this way a bunch, so I think they can go a little bit deeper and they're dangerous in the playoffs because of that defense and because of the way that they control the offense. He controls the offense. He gets first downs. He keeps the drives alive. He might not make it look pretty, but he gets the first downs and keeps the drive alive. Pretty much a lock for you to get 3 to 5 points at least with his legs if he gets into the end zone, closer to 10 points. His points have been coming down a little bit, but he's home now against Cleveland. Cleveland's a great team, but Lamar Jackson's too cheap. Again, though, this week's pretty tough for me to get down there. But this is the guy that I like in the mid-range the most if we're not going with Patrick Mahomes or Big Ben. Coming down a little bit more, we talked about Derek Carr in the first look lineup against Kansas City. Derek Carr's having a great year. We've mentioned it before. Better year potentially. Obviously that last matchup on Monday Night Football, Christmas Eve, wasn't great. 86 points, so he's probably not on pace to have his best year now. But I'll look back into that. I would say no. But also that year that he got hurt, he didn't play those last 2 games, so that also takes into effect what he did that year as well. But good matchup. If you want to pay down a quarterback this week, I think there's 2 viable spots to do it. Last week we had a ton of spots. I think Derek Carr is one of those spots. Obviously his team's going to be down in this game. I don't think they're going to be pull their starters. They haven't been in it for 5 weeks and they haven't pulled their starters. There's nothing that they should really be looking at there. Other quarterback-wise, Derek Carr is their future. Let the guy get some more snaps, get some confidence up. And like we said, Kansas City's going to put up points in this game. They are in a position where they have to score points to win. They have to win the game. And I think Derek Carr has a pretty nice game. Last time against them, he put up 24 points. He threw for 3 touchdowns. I don't see why that can't happen again here. And then lastly, the last guy that we're going to hit on, just to give you guys a guy below 5K, and I do think Josh Johnson is interesting, especially against that Philly secondary. I haven't started him yet, and it's basically because I don't think I'm going to end up playing any of these guys unless I want to get even more value. You can save 20-something hundred if you come off of Patty Mahomes and you come down here, and you can literally play any single high wide receiver you want and maybe 2 high running backs if you go that route, high tight end, high priced. I like Nick Mullens. Nick Mullens is set up in the top 3 explosive games right now, meaning the game to have the most plus 20-yard passes, and that's not just because of the Rams. That's actually more so because of the 49ers. They have a lot of explosive plays. Downside is they're not going to have Dante Pettis in this game, but as long as Goodwin's out there to open up some of the outside, which allows Kittle to get loose on the inside, middle of the field, I like this a lot. Breeda's not going to be out there, but I think Jeff Wilson's a serviceable backup. I don't think their offense is going to falter at all. They're going to be playing to put up some points in this game. They want Kittle to get the record. He needs, 80-plus yards to get the record. That's if Kelsey doesn't get it first, but we'll talk about that. And I think Shanahan's a great offensive coordinator. I think he's going to finish the year good, give his guys something good to feel about next year. Give me all of the Nick Mullens. Oh, all right. So we didn't price this or set this to go a highest price, so you have some of these guys down here. But the guys that I passed up on, Rivers I'm not interested in, and as of right now, those are the guys that I really wanted to talk about. Trubisky's interesting in tournaments-wise. Nobody's going to play him. Minnesota in a game that the Bears are going to want to win, right? So definitely interesting. I just don't have him right now. Same thing with Baker, but tougher defense. Let's move on, though. We spent a lot of time at QB. So running back, which is kind of driving me a little crazy early on this week. Again, Christmas Eve and Christmas, they didn't do anything those 2 days. So really it was yesterday doing some research, and then this morning just trying to put together some notes. So I'm not definitely set at all. Again, it's Thursday of Christmas week. Nobody's really set or feels comfortable. You can see here I don't have any of these guys highlighted, right? And that's because, one, I don't think the Saints are going to play their starters. They literally have no reason to. So I don't want to touch any Saints guys unless they're backups. We know Teddy Bridgewater was said he's going to get some time. I think he's going to get a good amount of time in there, and so is Taysom Hill. I think Drew Brees, if he plays at all, will play 1 to 2 snaps, and I don't really know why. Maybe there's a record that he has to beat that I'm not sure about. He's at the MVP race. There's really, in my opinion, there's really no reason for him to play. Melvin Gordon actually has one of the best matchups of the week against Denver. We saw last week what happened against Denver on the ground, and I just don't know if I want to go there. Like, Melvin Gordon, 8,400 because of the value that we're about to see. Ezekiel Elliott, Jerry Jones said they're playing all their starters. The last time they said that, Dak Prescott played 2 series 2 years ago when they had a bye. Zeke played none at all, I think, and Dez played, I think, like 10 snaps or maybe none at all. So I'm not trusting anything that they say. There's no reason that the Cowboys really should be doing anything this week. They're locked into that 4 seed. I'm staying away from Zeke, but if there are reports that he's definitely going to play, I'm going to have some lineups with him because nobody's going to have him, and he's a lock, right? He's a lock for 25 to 30 touches. Same deal with McCaffrey. Yes, he had 30-plus touches last week, but why are you going to throw him back out there and do it again? But you want to talk about being contrarian, and that's what we like to talk about on this channel and in this community a little bit. Nobody's going to be playing these guys because there's a ton of low value, right? And McCaffrey, nothing has changed since last week. He had 30-plus touches last week. He was touching the ball nonstop, catching 12 balls. Yes, that was against Atlanta, but now you're going to get a New Orleans defense that's probably going to sit some of these guys, Cam Jordan, some of these other guys on the defensive side. I like McCaffrey in this situation a lot, even though he's the highest priced guy, but that's because you can go down and get 2 other value wide receivers, 2 other value running backs to something else to fit up to him. And we've seen what he's done this year. The man's just a lock to go above 20 based on his pass catching role. Yes, he's got Kyle Allen or whoever starting out there, but we saw last week with Heineke. That's better for McCaffrey. They're going to check down way more. He had 13 targets. So you want to talk about being contrarian. If no news comes out, I'm definitely going to have lineups with McCaffrey in it. He's the high price guy that I want. James Conner's the next guy up here, and let's filter this by salary, actually. You see I have Saquon highlighted, and it's the same reasons for McCaffrey, right? What I just said. Both of these guys touched the ball a ton last week. I mean, if we go here to Saquon, I mean, we can go to McCaffrey first. Just absolute crazy uses last week, right? 33 touches, 180 total yards, absolute monster. Saquon, same reason why. Like last week, he didn't have a flashy game, and he hasn't really had a flashy game in a while, meaning going for like 25-plus points. But he still touched the ball 26 times and had 7 targets last week. I think they're going to be playing their starters in this game just to kind of get Saquon as much stats packing as he can in his rookie year. Now there's a debate between him and Baker Mayfield. I think it should be Baker for Offensive Rookie of the Year just because of what Baker's done for that team. I think that they're going to put Saquon out there and trying to get him some work. So as of right now, these are the 2 high-priced guys that I'm going with because of their usage and because there really isn't any news indicating them not to play, like there is with the past history of the Cowboys, like there is with Todd Gurley's injury status, things like that, and I'd rather play them over Melvin Gordon like there is with Alvin Kamara and the Saints not having anything to play for. Next up, James Conner. He's practicing fully, has an absolute amazing matchup right now against Cincinnati. If we go here to James Conner, 7,500 is a very good price. This should be a guy who's elite. He was putting up 30-plus points when he was fully healthy, literally back-to-back weeks. Now he's not even priced at 8K. I like him a lot this week. We go to see what he did last time against Cincinnati, and he went absolutely nuts, right? 37 points, multi-touchdown game, over 100 yards. Obviously, that's not going to say he's going to repeat it, but now he's at home in a game that its team must win. Am I worried about Jalen Samuels? No. If Conner is healthy, what he did this year, the fact that he's a Pro Bowler, the guy deserves to be back there getting all the work. Maybe in between some series, you get 1 out of every 5 series that Samuel takes over. That's fine. I think Conner's going to go for 20-plus touches. I love him a lot. He's the guy that if I am playing multiple value guys and a high-priced quarterback and tight end, which is the build I'm looking for this week, yes, that's probably the build everybody's looking for, but it's the most optimal build when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's something we've never seen before, going out there every week. Conner's the guy that you can get up to if you still want to go value at other positions. You obviously can't get this high at that point if you're going to be paying up for some wide receivers as well. This range is kind of dead. I do like Chris Carson because Arizona gets the most rushing attempts against them. They've given up 15 rushing touchdowns, by far the most this year. We saw last week when C.J. Anderson was able to just muster up. The man hasn't been playing at all, and he went out and he put up 100 and whatever amount of yards and a touchdown against them on 20 touches, 8 yards per carry, 160 yards in the end. The question is, will Carson play? Let's see the news on him from Wednesday. Seattle obviously wants to win to remain in that 5 seed, but they've already clinched playoffs, so how much determination will they really have? I'm not sure if they will have too much. No real news on Carson right now out on the DraftKings side. But if for some reason they sit Carson in this matchup, Mike Davis becomes an absolute amazing play. As of right now, I have Carson in there. Coming down a little bit more, I don't like Chubb's matchup at all. Don't really like Dalvin Cook's matchup at all, these teams going on the road. This is where it's interesting. We had Damian Williams in our first look. It seems like Spencer Ware is practicing and going to play. DraftKings was smart, priced them basically at the same price range because one of them should have a good game, if not both. Right now I'm staying away from this, but I'm going to analyze it a little bit more because we know this is a great matchup. We know this is an incredible offense, and these guys are pretty cheap if one of them is going to be the RB1. I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case. Next up, Jamal Williams. I haven't had him queued yet, and again, we're going to have a lot of running backs queued because there's a lot of value, so I'm definitely going to be hitting out some of these guys come Sunday, some Saturday, and Friday. So make sure if you do want to see that 30 days for $1, you can sign up below. Jamal Williams played on 85 and 90 Green Bay snaps. I mean, they had so many snaps because they went into overtime, and they were trailing a lot, so they had to actually come back from behind. They got to run a lot of offensive snaps. But in a game where they were trailing a lot and couldn't run the ball, Jamal Williams still went off, and that's because the man's actually a pretty good pass catcher. He's actually great in the screen game. As a Packers fan, I kind of know that from a couple of years now with him on the team. 15 attempts in a game where they were trailing by 15 for a majority of that game. But here's the thing that's great. 9 pass attempts. Aaron Rodgers is finally checking the ball down to the running back. Yes, Aaron Jones was getting some, but 4 or 5. This new offense, they're like, okay, Aaron, if nothing's open downfield, stop trying to make something happen with your legs, scrambling around and throwing the ball away because you're leading the league doing that. Why don't you check the ball down to the running back who's a guaranteed 5 to 10 yards because nobody's around him. 6 catches, 61 yards. He had over 150 combined yards, got in the end zone. I like him a lot again. He's going to be chalk this week, right? Like, let's check. Right now in Fantasy Labs, what they have Jamal Williams at. This is Fantasy Labs as well. This isn't the free model. You can't get this, but this is if you play. Jamal Williams is going to be 21 to 25% owned. They have him at 17 projected points with the ceiling of close to 30, which is what he did last week. So he's highly owned. You get no leverage here. Leverage means how many other people have him. Leverage means if you're playing a guy who's low owned and he has a chance to go for decent to high ceiling, he has a lot of leverage. That's hard to find these days, but it's definitely not impossible, especially to find leverage at all, but just high potential leverage because a lot of people are on those players. So Jamal Williams is definitely a guy who I want to play at 6K, but I think there's even better value we have. We come down to David Johnson. I'm not playing him, right? I just wanted to mention that David Johnson next year in your standard league drafts, he's going to drop to the mid-second round. He's going to drop the picks 25 to 28 just because there's so much good running backs, right? We have had a ton come out this year in the rookie class with Nick Chubb's probably going to be ahead of him, with Joe Mixon's going to be ahead of him. I know he's not a rookie, but just saying. And we also have Saquon obviously coming out ahead of him. There's going to be receivers like Devontae Adams. Zach Ertz is going to probably be ahead of him. He's going to drop down there. And here's the thing. This is exactly a situation I saw a tweet where Todd Gurley was in this situation 2 years ago. Bad coach, bad offensive line, but a great player who has talent, and he's going to get a ton of touches. That's David Johnson. David Johnson's getting a ton of touches. He's 4th in the league in touches. He has a terrible offensive line and a terrible offense with a rookie QB. I mean, everybody's just loading the box up against this guy, but he still has the talent. He's still getting the opportunities. Next year, I'm spending every second-round pick I can get on this guy. I hope I pick 12th in my league and I snag whoever, David Johnson and a Nick Chubb. I don't know, a combination of those guys because David Johnson's going to be picked too low. Just wanted to mention that, not playing him. C.J. Anderson has the best matchup of the week in terms of offensive line against the defensive line. This Rams offensive line is going to have a heyday against this San Francisco. They're just going to be bullying them around. I hope Todd Gurley's out because that opens up the value of C.J. Anderson at 5,400. C.J. Anderson, he didn't catch the ball much last week. He did go for 160 yards. But C.J. Anderson is a guy in the past who actually can catch the ball. He has decent hands out there when he was with Denver. He did get 3 targets, which is encouraging. Did nothing, though, in that backfield. But again, I like C.J. Anderson a ton at 5,400 if this is a spot that we can get to with Todd Gurley being out. Come down a little bit at 5,300. Now, which one do I like more? I like Elijah McGuire more. People are going to see C.J. Anderson's big week last week, but he's actually priced accordingly. He's not priced at $44,000, right? He's not priced where he was last year at $3,000. Elijah McGuire I do like against slow New England linebackers, and he can actually catch the ball. We saw last week he had a receiving touchdown. I like Elijah McGuire a lot. A guy who definitely has fresh legs after coming off the injured reserve list midway through the season. Sony Michel is in a good matchup against the Jets. I just don't want to touch it based on his pass game role. He needs to have big games like he did, I believe, last week to do anything. Another guy that I've been harping on a lot this year, Lesean Mccoy. He's only had one good game all year. I actually picked that game, but I've also picked a couple of his duds and I've had lineups. He's at home against Miami, good matchup, and his at-home splits are insane with Buffalo, especially when they're favorites. I do like Lesean McCoy at 4,800, a good amount this week. Adrian Peterson's another guy who all year long, if you've been watching me, I harp on because he doesn't catch the ball, and if he doesn't get you 100 yards and a touchdown, he's probably not going to do well. But he actually has been getting a little bit of targets with Chris Thompson being limited out there. And now Adrian Peterson is 4,500 against an Eagles defense that isn't great. I'm probably going to end up doing this. I want to do this right now, right? Taking him out. But he is cheap. That's all I'm saying. He is super cheap. This is where all this value comes in. Gus Edwards, I believe, is way too cheap. And an offense that literally only runs the ball, right? Yes, their quarterback's doing that a lot. But getting Gus Edwards at 4,400 is definitely a steal. Another guy just like Adrian Peterson. Maybe he's a poor man's or younger Adrian Peterson, who's not going to catch the ball. Literally had his first catch last week, I believe, 92 yards. So this is what he can do for you. He can get you 11 points if he doesn't go over 100 and score a touchdown. And he can do that more times than not, as you see here. Everybody always tells me, why aren't you playing Gus Edwards? What has he done for me? He's gotten 22 here because he went over 100 with a touchdown. And he got 19 here because he went over 100 with a touchdown. That's what you're relying on, over 100 with a touchdown. There's a lot of other running backs that you don't need to get that out of, and they can have even better games. Guys like Lesean Mccoy, he doesn't need to get 100 in a touchdown because he can get 70 on the ground, he can get 50 in the air on 4 catches, and right there's your extra 9 points. And that's probably more viable, especially on Draftkings. Jeffrey Wilson, we talked about Matt Breida being out, so I'm putting Wilson in there. And this is just because Matt Breida's out, right? This isn't because I love the matchup. This isn't because I love Jeffrey Wilson, per se. But I do like this offense. I do like Kyle Shanahan. Have him in there right now just to show you guys that I'm thinking about him. More of a placeholder until I look into the slate a little bit more. The man of the hour, if Tevin Coleman's out, there's been reports with Julio and him being sick. Will Tevin Coleman just sit? Going to be a free agent. Do they want him to get hurt? Brian Hill, 3,900. He's going to be the absolute chalk if that happens. Great matchup against Tampa Bay. Yes, Tampa Bay at home is a better defense, but Atlanta coming on the road, he's an interesting play, and he's a play that I know a lot of people are going to want to play, but he's a guy that I'm putting in here just to talk about him. I don't know if I'm going to play this guy. You don't have to go all the way down here. If you do, it opens up a ton, but let's just think for a second. Ito Smith and Tevin Coleman, and even Freeman when he was playing, are they even having good years? Coleman had 2 games where he was super efficient. He didn't get a lot of carries. This guy had 8 carries for 115 yards, and he had a fumble. That's what a lot of people are seeing, and they're liking it. And a lot of that comes on a big run. If that big run doesn't happen, nobody's really looking at Brian Hill or that excited about him because he's in an Atlanta offense that hasn't had success on the ground. Yes, I know Tevin Coleman has had 2 big games, but he did that on 11 carries, and he's an explosive player, and he just bursts big plays. Are you going to rely on that? No, we've been relying on touches all year long. Now, in tournaments, obviously, you can play him. In cash, the price warrants you to be able to play him. If he's the starter and Tevin Coleman is ruled out, I think he's a good play, right? But I want you to just be wary of the fact that a lot of people are going to own him in tournaments, and this Atlanta running game hasn't been one that's shocked anybody this year, right? It's been Matt Ryan having a really good year, Julio having a really good year, Calvin Ridley, the rookie, Sanu, even Hooper. The running backs haven't been the ones to shock you. So, yes, I know 3,900 obviously is the reason we're talking about him in the first place, but also it could be a way to get off of a low or a high-owned, low-priced running back if you so choose, because you can this week because of guys like Mike Davis, if Chris Carson is out, things like that in this same range. But also you pay up a little bit more, and you can because of the value on the slate, and you can get guys in this mid-tier range right here that we were just talking about. So that's it for running back. Let's move on to wide receiver now. Actually, let me look at these notes quick because I wrote down something about pace. Just want to make sure. Yeah, so the fastest paced games, we were just talking about Atlanta. That's the other thing that would make me a little more interested in him. Fastest paced games, Atlanta's number 8 in pace, Tampa Bay's number 4 in pace. You want to talk about the other ones, the 49ers and Rams. 49ers are 12th in pace, Rams are 3rd in pace. Colts are number 1 in pace, Titans 24 in pace. Those are the 3 fastest games of the week. I do like that Atlanta game a lot, actually. Probably be going into that a little bit more. And getting to that pace in Atlanta, I like Julio at 8,500 because you can get up to him because of these running back values that we see because of obviously paying a cheaper defense this week is a better way to go. Julio is a touchdown monster now, right? 7 touchdowns in however many games, or 8 touchdowns in 7 games, whatever it is. Absolute monster. Everybody was worried about him. He's having the best wide receiver year of the season, although I would argue Davante Adams is pretty close behind if he could have a big week this week. But Julio is going to end up with the most receiving yards. He just is. He's a great player. Atlanta has nothing to play for, but in this game, this is one of those games like last week with the Jets and with the Packers that I said, both these teams are eliminated, but both these teams have good offense with young guys that they want to see get the ball in their hands. And really just guys who have been having good seasons. Why are you just going to pull them, just let them finish out the season? This game might go for 60 points. They might just throw the ball around, and I don't doubt that happening really at all. Next up, Ty Freak, and Ty Freak has just been a receiver who hasn't been consistent at all, and a lot of receivers haven't been consistent this year. It's kind of hard to remain over 15 points a week. Davante Adams, the only player besides a quarterback who's had at least 15 points every single week. But we can see Tyreek Hill hasn't even hit that mark in half his games now. I think it's only been like 7 of the or 6 of the 15 games, 7 of the 15 games. But he's due, right? And against Oakland, this man can go absolutely berserk. Last time against Oakland, though, didn't do much. But you have to have him in there if you're considering playing Patrick Mahomes in this whole Oakland offense, in the passing game. I think you have to have Tyreek in there. Again, I think he's way too priced because he's only has 7 targets. And Adam Levitan talks about it. 7 targets from Tyreek are worth more than 7 targets from anybody else because the man catches so many deep balls, which is true. I'm putting him in there just to talk about him right now. I'm not sure if I'll get to him. My favorite play of possibly the entire week outside of a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Actually, no, my favorite play is coming in the wide receiver range, so stay tuned. But Devontae Adams, $8,000. He's 134 yards away from being this Packers single-season wide receiver. From receiving yards, 2 catches away. He's going to get most likely the catches, and he should get the touchdowns. And he's also looking to be the first Packer wide receiver to have 100 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Again, he needs 120 yards to do that, 134 yards to break the record, 15 touchdowns. He's 2 away from that as well. Aaron Rodgers knows these stats. They've been joking around in the media saying that they're going for it. We're not joking around, but just being playful, but they are going for it. I love Devontae Adams. He's going to be, if we check Fantasy Labs here, he's going to be uber chalk this week because everybody knows that he wants to go for the record, right? And I'm maybe a little bit biased because I'm not going to go away from a guy who has had over 15 points every single week, and his floor is literally 20 points. But yeah, he's going to be the highest owned wide receiver for sure, I would imagine, at 26%. But yeah, I'm fine eating that chalk unless something else comes up, but I think that we can differentiate in some other ways for sure. Coming down a little bit, mid-range, not really sure what to do with the Rams guys yet, so that's why I haven't put them in there, but if you do have questions, I'm thinking about them for sure. It's fat. Sort this by price. Next guy up is going to be, we come down in here, who did I skip? Nobody. So I do want to play Adam Thielen because nobody's going to play him because I still think he has that upside, but there's just so many better plays around him. So Amari Cooper's a guy that I want to talk about. His price has come down by $300 since last week. Last week, even though he's kind of had this yo-yo season, he didn't have a good game back-to-back weeks. But last week, people were on to the fact that he's been having a yo-yo season, thinking that it actually meant something, thinking that that trend meant something at all, that he would have a good game then a bad game. That's just a weird trend. That's not anything locked in stone. But now, back-to-back weeks of under 10 points, gets a good matchup against the Giants, right? Nobody can really guard him on the Giants. Landon Collins is a safety. He can't guard him. I like him a lot. Nobody's going to want him. The people who played him the last 2 weeks thinking they were being clever, got burned twice. Nobody's going to play him. So give me all of the Amari Cooper I can get up to this week at least. Kenny Golladay, another favorite guy in this slate. So he had 98 yards and a touchdown against the Packers last time. He was tackled on the 1 yard line, so just missed basically a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. He's an absolute freak. The Packers are injured in the secondary. Jair was placed on IR. They don't want to mess around with their number 1 pick, who looked very promising. A lot of other guys have been placed on IR. They're playing out there with a bunch of guys in this last week of the year who are off the streets, really. And Kenny Golladay is an absolute freak who saw, I believe, 15 targets last week. Kenny Golladay at $6,600 is way underpriced. Based on the matchup that he has, based on the amount of targets that he's seeing. He's 4th in the league in targets since Marvin Jones got injured, I believe. So just absolutely insane. This guy is all that they have on the offensive side of the ball, and Matt Stafford knows that. The Packers probably even know that, but they're not going to be able to stop him. Give me Kenny Golladay this week at $6,600. Those are the pieces of that Green Bay and Detroit game I like, and there's one more piece that we're going to get to for sure. Alshon Jeffrey, I'm looking for flop leg. Only had 11 points last week when everybody was on him. Now he goes up against Washington. This red Washington thing doesn't scare me at all. DJ Swearinger was just picked up by the Cardinals. Clinton Dix is absolutely terrible. Josh Norman is a shell of his old self. I like Jeffrey this week if you're going to be playing Nick Foles in a bounce back flop lag spot. He's at $5,700. His price has come down. I like him a lot. 54, Adam Humphries. The man caught 10 balls last week. I played him in a couple of 3-mans and a couple of 10-man leagues on Draftkings, and I absolutely love the guy. Jameis looks his way a ton. If Deshaun Jackson is out, I wouldn't even say that really affects him either way. He's in the slot, seeing the ball way more than he ever has this year. He's going up against Atlanta, obviously funnels the ball to running backs, obviously funnels the ball in the middle of the field. I like him a lot this week. You can see he's projected for 11.8 points on DraftKings. I think he gets way more than that. I think this guy's going to be seeing 6 to 7 receptions this week, and does he fall in the end zone or not? If he doesn't fall in the end zone, 12 is probably viable. If he does, though, at 5,400, 18 points out of this guy who's probably going to be low owned is incredible. I'm going to pass up Sterling Shepard. I know he's had a couple of stealing games as of late. Don't want to touch him. Yes, he should be in the slot, but in case he gets bumped to the outside, in the case that Byron Jones is on him, don't want to touch him. Calvin Ridley, I'm off as of right now of this week because of the other value down low in the way that I'm constructing my lineups. I can't really get into this mid-range too much at 53 to 6,500, but Ridley came through for us last week, just missed a 100-yard bonus. He's not a terrible play. Deshaun Hamilton, I'll shout out PSU here. Again, not sure if I'm going to be able to get up to him and play him in this spot because of other plays and lineup construction, but the man's an absolute stud. Caught a touchdown in prime time. This guy is going to be a name to remember next year for sure. Look at this. 30 targets in 3 weeks, averaging 10 targets a week, obviously there. And he's just catching the ball and he's getting red zone targets. I believe now he has 4 or 5 red zone targets in 3 games. Absolutely insane. He literally took over the Emmanuel Sanders role and is not slowing down. Kind of hard to ignore, although he is going to be in the slot versing Desmond King, who's the number 2 cornerback in PFF behind Stephon Gilmore. So that's scary, but at his price, he's warranted to at least look at. Larry Fitzgerald, this is just the narrative. Larry Fitzgerald, potential last game of his career. There's been rumors he'll come back next year, but potential last game of his career. Does he just go out there and put it on? And he's been getting a lot of targets out there, right? He's been having a decent couple of weeks since Christian Kirk went down. So yeah, you can see he's averaging like 9 targets a week, 8, 9 targets since Christian Kirk went down. Definitely threw that touchdown, so he had the weird point total here. But definitely they're looking at him, and they're definitely looking at him in the red zone. It's just a matter of do they even get to the red zone. But again, value wide receiver in his last game, narrative for sure. Jamison Crowder, so I'm really only showing the Jamison Crowder, and I'm also going to show Josh Doctson, which is probably an even better play. Crowder at 4,800 might be a little expensive based on the fact that Josh Johnson is quarterback, but Josh Johnson is looking at him. And he's going up against the Eagles, right? The Eagles can't guard the slot. I mean, they can't really guard anywhere. If we go to Crowder here, just to see his target share. So 7 targets last week, 78 yards. I mean, Crowder's actually fresh, right? He's been injured, but he has fresh legs when he's running out there. I don't mind Crowder. I'm probably not going to end up playing him. I'll probably remove him right now. But I just wanted to mention him. And now when we get really down into this value range, there's a couple of guys. The first guy is Chris Godwin. Yes, I know I've been harping on him, but yes, he's going up against Atlanta. Absolutely incredible smash spot with Deshaun Jackson still not practicing. At $4,300, I love this guy if he starts with Deshaun Jackson out. He's one of my favorite plays in the slate, but not that guy I was talking about. That's my favorite. Curtis Samuel, I'm not going to be playing him, but I know he had 13 targets last week. But that was with his quarterback from the preseason, Heineke, who loved him in the preseason. They were the rookie combo in the preseason, or not the rookie, but the young guy combo in the preseason. Now he goes Kyle Allen. I don't know if you can trust anybody outside of potentially McCaffrey, maybe Ian Thomas in that offense. Definitely not Curtis Samuel, but I did want to talk about that because I know I'm going to get questions about it because he had a ton of targets. Where are my guys? So you want value guys, right? The first guy is Josh Doctson. There's a lot of guys below 3,500 you can play this week, and that's crazy because we were talking about the running backs that there's value at. Josh Doctson going up against Philadelphia. And here's the thing. He hasn't been targeted, I don't think, as much as Jamison Crowder out there. But he is a guy on the outside who can win matchups. He's a jump ball receiver. Where is this man? There we go. Jump ball receiver, getting decent target share out there, right? 6 targets last week, finally in a game where they had to pass a little bit more. They're going to have highway, freeway, whatever you want to say, to throw the ball this week. It's just going to be wide open. They're going to be going fast out there. Yeah, Josh Doctson's an interesting play at 3,400, but I think there's even better plays, or an even better play. 3,200, I will also talk about Trent Sherfield, just because Trent Sherfield at 3,200 is too cheap. He's, again, not the play that I want to talk about. But at 3,200, Trent Sherfield, I mean, targets are consistent since Kirk went down. 7, 6, 5. He's averaging 6 targets a week since Kirk went down. He's got double-digit points in 3 straight weeks. I don't know how they still have him at 3,200. I don't know how his price has come down the past 2 weeks. He's a great play if you want to get value. But, again, you want to get value, you come all the way down to my man's, where you at? Jake Kummerow. Jake Kummerow, min-price Jake Kummerow. You want to be able to get up to all those other guys this week, and I wanted to keep this quiet because I know a lot of people are going to be on him once a week, and it folds a little bit more. So Cobb's probably going to be out. Will I push him back? St. Brown is now questionable, not practicing. If St. Brown is out, he's an absolute smash play. Even if St. Brown's in, I'm fine. Last week, Jake Kummerow ran 47 snaps to St. Brown's 31. St. Brown had the better game because he caught a couple of deep balls, but Kummerow also caught his fair share. He had 3 catches, had a deep ball for a touchdown, something that he did in the preseason twice. Aaron Rodgers loves him. Devontae Adams is running a lot of snaps out there, yes. Marvell Scantling ran 55, yes. But Kummerow's a weapon. If Kummerow, he was on the field for 47 snaps last week, Scantling was on the field for 55, so he's competing for that number 2 spot right now, right? If Cobb's out, if St. Brown is somehow out as well, Kummerow's a smash spot at $3,000. I absolutely love him at this spot, and I'm fine stacking him with Adams and going that way. Now let's finish it up quickly talking about tight end, a place that we don't spend as much time, but I want to talk about one strategy. I wrote in my PDF down below, if you want to sign up for the e-list, I'm actually going to put this in the beginning of it. So I wrote down below a little mini ebook, 9 pages, totally free. It's how to give yourself a better chance to win at DraftKings, how to set yourself up optimally, maybe be contrarian and just notice things that other people aren't doing so you can take advantage of those times that it should pay off. Those times that nobody's doing what the strategy that you're doing, and that it should pay off a lot more than the times that you're doing what everybody else is doing. So down below you can download that ebook. I talk about some things in there, double tight end strategy, that I'll talk about in a few seconds. But I talk about some things on there. It's totally free, so download that ebook. It's not even an ebook, it's a PDF. Download it, totally free, and it'll ask for your email. You'll get sent an email of it. So yeah, totally download that for free. A lot of value. I spent a lot of time, and also let me know what you think about it. So Travis Kelce at 7,200, absolute lock. He destroyed Oakland last time. Oakland's 32nd against tight ends. Kelce is the guy who should get the record over a guy like Kittle because he has like 40 or 50 more receiving yards than Kittle, so he's closer to that record and should be able to get it. But I also have Kittle start here because we've already heard Shanahan, Kittle, they're all going for the record. He needs like 90 or 80 yards. This is a week that you could go double tight end because Kelce is in a smash spot. He's in that mid-price range for wide receivers, and he's the best one out of all of them, right? He's the same price as Amari Cooper. I'd rather have Kelce. Kittle is $6,300, and he's going for the record. This is a week where you can go double tight end. You can still get up to a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and you can still get up to a guy like Devontae Adams or a higher price running back. That's just how cheap there is value on this slate. Double tight end is definitely in play this week. And outside of that, I'm not really looking anywhere else at tight end. I mean, I do have guys down here who are more value. Chris Herndon, 3,400, and Austin Hooper at 3,500. They definitely give you more value if you want to save a tight end this week. But again, I think this is the week to go up at tight end, go up at quarterback, and I think that's the optimal build. Ertz is going to be in a sneaky spot here because everybody's going to want to play Kittle, I believe, and Kelce. Maybe there will be higher ownership on Ertz than I think, mainly because the Eagles have to be competitive in this game, whereas the 49ers don't, but they are going for the record, they said it, and because of what Ertz did last week, he should garner ownership, which I kind of hope he does then, so these guys are a little bit less owned. But Kelce to Kittle, double tight end, is definitely an interesting strategy this week. That's really all there is at tight end. I mean, I know Gronk I have highlighted here because nobody's going to want to own him, mainly because you can get up at tight end or you can go lower in this range. He is 5,100 against the Jets. He's had a lot of success in his career against these Jets. Did he play the Jets a few weeks back where he had that big game? Let's see. No, so he played Miami when he did that, and he has great success against Miami. But against the Jets, he did have a touchdown. That was his first week back off injury. So yeah, Gronk's just another play, but I'm focusing on this guy right here and this guy right here. So that's really all there is. This was a longer video because there's a lot to unpack in this week 17 slate. There's a lot to unpack in terms of being 1,000 subscribers and all that. So thank you guys again. Make sure you check out Draft Dashboard, 30 days for $1. You'll get my player pool. I don't want to say picks because I don't just say, here, play this guy in your lineup. It's my player pool, guys, I'm thinking about, as well as you can download that free PDF below. Join the Facebook group. Make sure you do all these things. This is a tough week. But yeah, notes on next week. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to be doing a first look for the playoffs. I'm going to be doing a road trip. I'll try to. If not, hit up the blog. So make sure you hit up the blog, especially next week. I'm not sure if I'll be able to kind of do some videos or more so relatable videos. I'm going to try and preload some because I'm going to be doing a road trip back from Texas with my girlfriend. But make sure you hit up the blog, link down below. Follow that blog. I post on there a lot of value for you guys as well. But thank you so much. Check below to see if you won that giveaway for $15. Best of luck this week. My name's Sal. Peace.